Hey people, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. Just want to have a quick discussion about the most important things, maintenance on your vehicle. So what the most important things are, I haven't sat down, I haven't thought about it, I haven't scripted it or jotted it down or anything. I'm just going to go off the top of my head. Now, motor vehicles are a fairly expensive thing for a lot of people. Even if you've spent 10 grand, it's probably a lot to you. 20 grand, 40 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever it is. If you got more than 100 grand, you probably don't really, if you spent more than 100 on a car, you probably don't really care about maintenance too much. And you probably think you can trust your local dealership. So this one's probably not that relevant to you. But for people that are value for money wise, like to do things right the first time, make things last, look after things, save money, this is probably the video for you. So pretty obvious, one of the top things is your regular engine oil change. So changing your engine oil, doesn't matter if it's a petrol, a diesel or a hybrid or whatever it is, that petrol engine, doesn't matter if it's your brush cutter, your lawnmower, whatever. The more stuff you've got, the more maintenance you've got to do. You need to set aside probably a few days a year. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? A few days a year just for your vehicle and machinery maintenance. People have got boats, they've got jet skis, they've got all sorts of things, right? Anyway, we won't go into that too much, but your engine oil changes is the number one thing every 6 months. Okay, we've talked about it before, so I'm not going to waste too much time on that. Now, one of the next ones, probably next most important, is your engine coolant changes. So if it's a water-cooled engine, getting that engine coolant out, making sure it's clean, getting it out before it needs it. You don't wait to go, oh, no, it looks all right, I'm going to leave it, looks all right, I'm going to leave it, oh, it's starting to look, no. What you've got to do is do it by time, depending what engine, what coolant it's got, what the recommended intervals are, and obviously who's been looking after the vehicle, how well it's been done in the past. But your engine coolant changes is the next most important, because it's in a motor vehicle, as I've said before. Not only is it protecting, it's protecting your radiator, or it's stopping from it's not to stop it from overheating as much as it is to stop corrosion and rust. Okay, so your radiator, your engine in the block, the Welsh plugs, that's plugs in the block, from manufacturing. There's heads, there's alloy components, alloy engines, alloy heads, there's gaskets, there's into your dashboard in your vehicle, your heater core. So there's like a, for people who don't know what that is, it's like a radiator, it's a smaller unit. It goes into your dashboard, that's where the coolant goes as well, because it's when your engine warms up that the air goes through that heater core, that's where it picks up the heat from, okay? And when you adjust your temperature, that's the blend door in the heater box, allowing a mix of hot and cold, that sort of thing. So there you go, you may have just learned something else, back to basics, but we're not going to go on about that. They're your two most important things. Now, what's next after that? Now, you've obviously got other oils, transmissions, diffs, transfer cases, and all this sort of thing, gearboxes and other things like that, depends what machinery. That's fairly important, but a gearbox and a diff, it's not really that important compared to, let's move on to, probably the third most important is going to be filters. Yep, you guessed it, a lot of people knew it, yep. Air filters, so the engine air filters. So important that it's clean and it can breathe, but even more important that it's sealed properly and it's fitted properly. So make sure if you do work on it, clean it, change it, that you do fit it correctly and that it's sealed properly, because if it's not sealed, it's worse than having a blocked air filter. The problem with a blocked air filter is, look, some engines like a petrol engine, your mower, your brush cutter, they're going to be hard to start, or they're not going to start because they can't get the air, they're going to have too much fuel, it's going to sort of flood, it's not going to run well, it's going to blow smoke and carry on. Similar things will happen with a diesel, but a bigger diesel engine, it's got grunt, it's going to pull the air from somewhere, and it could do damage to something, besides the fact that it's going to pull the air from somewhere. So it's either going to come through the filter with a bit of dirt and dust with it as well, because that's what's blocking it, or it's going to rip it past the seal unfiltered, whatever happens. So filters are really important, and quite obviously the dustier the conditions, the more you need to clean or change them. Make sure when you clean them, blow them out. If you're doing that carefully, depends again what filter, what machinery, if you can even do that. Blow it out the reverse way of what it came in, right? So if it came in from the top towards the bottom, then you blow from the bottom that way out. Try and blow it out that way. You don't want to be forcing it through. You don't want to be too close. You don't want to be damaging the filter. A lot of filters you can't clean these days, so it does get expensive replacing filters, and that's the cost of looking after an engine. What's cheaper, a filter or an engine? Just let me know the answer to that one in the comments. Now, next most important things on an engine, they're probably your top three, right? Oils, your lubrication, your cooling, and if it's not water cooled, let's just say if you've got cooling fins, it's air cooled, whatever, make sure it's all clear of debris, dirt, mud, hay, grass, whatever you might have jammed in there, make sure it's all clear. And basically what you want to do next is probably your tuning side of things, right? So tuning, so what's tuning? Well, on a petrol engine, that's your spark plugs. So having a clean spark plug, having good clean fuel is obviously important as well, but tuning, so having a spark plug that works accurately, your ignition system, if it's got an ignition lead, having those in good condition, good connections, coils, if they're working right. If they get old, if they're really old, you can just about guarantee a coil is almost not going to be working right or going to fail soon. So depending how many you've got, it might be worth replacing the coils as preventive maintenance. I'm talking if they're 15 years old and 200,000 Ks and they're not too expensive, and you can get good quality brand aftermarket coils, or you've got a single coil for a, you know, a lawnmower or a tractor or a, you know, brush cutter, whatever it is. You know, you've got different systems, so I'll give you a general idea. But the point is, ignition system needs to be right on a petrol engine. If it's not firing at the right time, then again, it's not going to run well, and this can damage the engine as well, just like, you know, filters and oils. So don't think it's all about lubrication and filters, because it's also about it running right. So petrol engine, obviously the spark plugs we've spoken about, the leads, the coils, this sort of thing. If it's a later model engine, it's going to have coil per cylinder, and they're really good quality, and you're probably not going to have any issues with them at all for a very long time, so that's good. Now when it comes to a diesel engine, obviously what controls a diesel engine combustion is the injector, and we go on about that all the time, so I'm not going to talk about that too much, but again, making sure those injectors are working right, the right amount of fuel at the right time, pretty simple stuff. Older engines, mechanical injectors, you know, there was a regular replacement maintenance they do wear, and they do go out of spec, so worth changing. With the new engines, the injectors are much better, quality materials, more precision, fine tolerances, so they work really well. But because they're doing that, they're getting a lot more power and torque out of the engines, and therefore if it's not working right, that's where you have problems like the cracked piston thing, dare I say. Why do I even say that in this video? But look, so on diesels, your injectors are the key thing. Doesn't matter what diesel it is, I don't care if you've got a Kubota tractor or whatever, you're going to need to get to know and understand when they're working right and when they're not, how to keep them clean, keeping clean fuel in there, regular running, sometimes pump issues, and of course diesel filters and stuff like that. And that pretty much nails it as far as around the engine goes. Let me just think about that. What have I forgotten? I mean, that's what it's about. It's about it running right, so tuning. It's about lubrication, oil, and anti-corrosion, so that coolant, and whatever else. So filters, you know, it's part of the tuning and the keeping it clean. So that's your package to look after your engine. An oil leak doesn't look good. It makes mess. It can cause other issues on the road for other road users, but it's not actually detrimental to the engine, other than if it leaks enough oil that you know, you haven't got oil there to lubricate the engine. Obviously then it's a big problem. But I'm not saying not to fix your oil leaks. All oil leaks should be attended to, but I'm just trying to point out that an oil leak isn't, oh no, the engine's wrecked or ruined. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the engine, okay? If it's the same as if it's blowing smoke, could be a number of causes, but it could be you know, it could be your fuel system, it could be blocked air filters, it could be your injection system, injectors, that type of thing. Now moving on to other engine components, your transmission is probably the next most expensive item and the next most important. And when I say transmission, let's talk automatic transmissions, okay? Yeah, there's a lot of different ideas on what a transmission service is these days. Basically, it's an oil change is the fact of the matter. So years ago, there was a lot more adjustments and things that happened. Doesn't happen these days. Filters don't block. You can change it if you like, but it's a waste of time, to be quite honest, because they don't block. You can clean magnets, but they just keep collecting those wear and tear items. Let's say if you get to 300,000 or 400,000 Ks on an awesome Toyota transmission, then maybe that's the time to drop the pan and change the filter, just because you can. It's been a long time, but doing it at 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, I still reckon it's a waste of time, okay? But oil is the lifeblood of the transmission. The oil does deteriorate, it oxidizes from heat, depending how long it's, how hot it's got, and for how long it's been hot. There's all those normal variables. So that's your next most important one. Then the more you go off-road, the more your diff oils are important. But diff oils, like I said, there's not a lot going on in the diff. If you've got an LSD, it's going to get more wear and more debris and more dirty oil, if you like. Not a big deal, but your LSD oil is probably going to want to get changed more than anything else. Your diff oils, of course, your transfer case every now and then. It's not part of any normal service schedule. For example, on most of the four-wheel drives, a lot of them it's severe conditions, so I'd recommend you can do it every 100 or 200. It's a small amount of oil, less than a couple of litres in most vehicles. What the heck, for 2 litres of oil every 100,000 k's, I'd recommend something like that. So do it every 80 or 120, something like that, on your every 40,000 major service. And I reckon we're just about done. That covers all your most important maintenance items. If you didn't know that already, let us know in the comments. And if you did, or you got other opinions or other experiences or extra information you can add for people that read the comments, please do. And we'll catch you on the next video. See you guys. Ciao.